so many stories to cover when it comes to Monster Energy Supercross in 2025, and we'll do our best to cover all of them right here. It's hashtag Deep Field. These shows brought to you by Monster Energy, Maxima, Fly Racing, and Motorsport. Be sure to check the QR codes on the screen for the latest deals from Motorsport. And now let's get some depth and color with some of the most colorful characters in Supercross. We're talking about the riders, not the hosts. Yeah, welcome. Episode 4, your Racer X Monster Energy Supercross season previews, all part of the SMX World Championship. Thanks to Monster for backing our shows as always, and Fly Racing and Maxima as well. I'm Jason Weigandt. Jason Thomas, former pro racer. Steve Matthes, former factory mechanic here. There are so many other 450 storylines to discuss, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can here in episode 4. There even are some factory riders, and perhaps the oddest one to classify coming into 2025. We have the two-time and not defending, because he chose not to defend it, MXGP world champion Jorge Prado coming into Supercross. He's a fast dude. The level of talent and ceiling is right up there with anyone in the game. But he's in show 4 because we don't know what to expect in Supercross. And the scuttlebutt from the test track is that he's not flying at the test track. So JT, we talked about this right before I hit record. It's so difficult to figure out what category Prado is in. He's a level above a lot of the guys we're going to talk about in this show, but maybe not Supercross this year. I don't know.
I could have seen an argument to put him in show 3 because I think there will be flashes from him. He'll show us some stuff sometimes, but guarantee when we go and we do these for Pro Motocross, these preview shows, he will not be in episode 4. He is going to be most likely in episode 1. And that's for good reason. Supercross is new for him. He didn't grow up racing Supercross. He didn't grow up racing the French Championship of Supercross, a la Sebastian Tritelli, Stefan Ricotta, David Villeman, Marvin Musquin. Like, all those kids were prodigies. They learned at an early age how to race inside stadiums in Supercross. That was not the path for Jorge Prado. So it's always going to be a work in progress inside these stadiums, figuring out how to be the same level of talent that he is on a motocross track on a Supercross track. I don't know that he ever gets there. Maybe, but it won't be in 2025. That's why he finds himself in episode 4. I think you're going to have some good races, some not so good races, but a lot of races that are just kind of okay. He's 8th, he's 11th, he's 9th. Hopefully he's upright. That is the biggest thing I will leave you with. Hopefully he's upright when the checkered flag flies each and every weekend. So when we get to Fox Raceway in late May, Jorge Prado, however you want to pronounce his first name, is ready to rip and is his best self, because that, ladies and gentlemen, is why he's here. This Anaheim 1 thing, cool, great. It's another Kawasaki on the track. Monster benefits. SMX Video Pass, everybody wins. He's not here to win a Supercross championship in 2025. He is here to absolutely be a threat come this summer, and they may not ever say that. That may not be the theme, or you're not going to see that on a poster, but that's what I truly believe.
Yeah, I still believe Cowie is hoping that somewhere down the line, yes, not 2025, but they expect Supercross results out of Jorge Prado at some point. I just don't think that you spend the money they're spending for motocross only. They don't expect it now, maybe, but they're going to expect it within the next couple of years, 26, 27. What do you think, Steve? We're not hearing much.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
1 second before Steve gets in. To your point, they expect results. Have you often seen a rider that gets lapped in a Supercross race that in a couple of years is able to go win that same race on a dry racetrack?
Yeah, but this isn't Cade Clayson or guys like that here, JT.
Just asking the question. Have you ever seen a guy that had a dry scenario, didn't crash, didn't have an issue, that got lapped in a race, a couple years later is able to go win that race? That's it. I'm not saying it will or won't happen. That's what he's up against, though.
Yeah, he's coming out of MXGP, so we'd have to look at the original results. I know Tortelli won immediately, but then it never really improved from there. Greg Albertine was terrible at first, got better. But this, how will they transition to Supercross, is now an argument as old as time. It's going back 30 years, guys doing this. And Steve, we're not hearing great things so far, at least from the test track of Jorge, at least this offseason, but it's early days.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough. Look, he's a little bit like Ken Roczen. He comes from a country where you don't grow up racing Supercross. And obviously, it's more success than Kenny. Kenny bailed when he was younger, but I think that would put Kenny in a more advantageous position than Jorge Prado is. You look at Tortelli and Albie, like you said, they never quite got a hang of it. They got hurt more times than probably not. They had some big crashes. I think it's going to be a tough road, man. I absolutely just think he's going to be right around Dylan Ferrandis this year. So you look at Dylan Ferrandis' results, he was kind of invisible, but he was on 8, 9, 10 most weekends until he got hurt. I think that's the upside for Jorge Prado, right around that position, and then be ready for outdoors. But I mean, I had some people that I respect tell me that he's going to run top fives, and I'm like, no, I do not think that in this field on a Supercross genre that he's not used to riding that much. So, best case Ken Roczen, worst case Albie. I would put it in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I don't want to give you credit, JT, but there were no moments where Ken Roczen was ever in danger of getting lapped on a Supercross track from the day he showed up on a Supercross track. It was never like that.
No, for sure. And he was younger too, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Steve makes a point there with Ken Roczen. Jorge Prado moved from Spain to Belgium when he was 12. Had he moved from Spain to America when he was 12, he could be anything he wants to be. He could have the career that Ken Roczen has had, but he didn't. He moved to the sands of Belgium and crafted that skill set versus the skill set that he would have needed to be a Monster Energy Supercross champion and win 19 races like Ken Roczen has. So that's the difference. That's the catch up he has to do, is 10 years of Supercross racing experience that he simply doesn't have. Now, to the people that are telling Steve he's going to be a top 5, if you tell me he gets 5th at a race or 4th at a race or something, okay, I'm on board. I totally get it. But I'm talking about the average.
Because his starts can put him in a spot, right?
Yep. Easy track, small whoops. He gets a start. He feels comfortable. Things go his way. Okay, I'm there. But we're talking about a week in, week out scenario. What's the most likely thing to happen? I think that's 7 to 11. I do. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I see it.
Dylan Ferrandis. I just think he's going to be around Dylan Ferrandis.
I'm with you.
We're going to talk a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk Dylan Ferrandis right here.
I'm just hold on a second.
That wasn't an awesome season. Moving to the Honda, this time a year ago, he was in love with his motorcycle, as you told us, JT. Ended up being kind of a meh year for him. The team is back, Phoenix Honda. They still have the factory connection guys, a lot of the old Geico Honda staff over there. I think it's a building process for the whole team. He's just part of it. I don't know if he'll be there forever, but he's that first building block toward a 450. He said he was sick all year last year. But yeah, overall, it was a not great, not terrible season for Ferrandis. Anything different this year, Steve, for 14?
Well, before I get into Dylan, just think all the sacrifices that Kenny made and all the greatness he's achieved, and he comes to America and he gets put in show 3. But irregardless, this is why you guys go to the Anaheim Stadium and you talk to these riders, and it's like, what was Dylan saying? I got to get on a Honda. This is it. And he was, mostly invisible last year. He just had a meh year. Not terrible, but meh. And I mean, it's a production bike, on the Phoenix Honda team. He got a few factory parts down the road a little bit from the Honda guys. Ziggy certainly was doing his suspensions from factory connection. He knows what he's doing, but I would expect more of the same from Dylan Ferrandis this year. I really do. And I think you got to be careful of the preseason stuff about how good I feel and how good my motorcycle is.
We can answer to that question, Steve, since that's 2 years in a row you haven't been to these meetings. Dylan Ferrandis, I don't want to say he has or hasn't ridden this motorcycle, but he kind of clarified that this December, saying, well, first year 450 team, but I realized that I was in love with the factory HRC Honda 450 and not necessarily a Honda HRC off the showroom floor. So you do with that what you will. You read between the lines of what that means. But he said that was kind of the disconnect of them trying to get that bike closer to what Jet and Hunter were on. And that was, he's like, if I had that bike, things would be a lot different. I think you would see a lot better results. But don't
worry, Steve. Don't worry. He's heard the 25 Honda chassis is more like the Works bike. So we're good. We're good. Kiefer actually said that, didn't he? Didn't Kiefer actually tell us that the 25 production was supposed to feel more like the Works bike? For what
my friend Chris Kiefer led me a little astray on the 25 frame changes, and I have cut him from my life for that.
Oh,
Um,
cut him from your life swap. I know that.
So Dylan thought the works bike was going to be better. Okay, all right, I'm just gonna move on. Let's just move on. I hope he does better. All of that.
He thought his bike would be much more similar to the factory bike.
That's insane. That's insane.
Listen, I'm just telling you what the man said. Okay.
I know. I get it. That's why I'm just going to reserve comment. I really like Dylan, and let's move on.
I'm glad he's out there. It's always good to have more good veteran known riders and teams that support them out there. So we're happy that he's back. I didn't even know halfway through the year if this was going to keep going, but it is. So that's in and of itself some good news, and we'll see what the results are. There is another factory rider to talk about here. There are now 4 Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing 450 riders. 4. Because Christian Craig is back with the team that he won the West 250 title with a couple of years ago. It's a 450 racing deal, but also, Steve, a coaching the 250 riders, kind of specifically Hayden Deegan, who he's really tight with. If you want to learn how to ride whoops, Craig's probably your guy, so that's not a bad choice. But is Craig even going to be racing here at the beginning of the year? He tore his ACL at the end of SMX. So where are we with Christian?
Yeah, he's still riding outdoors as we record this halfway through December. So I don't think he'll be at A1. I think he'll start a bit later. His bike will be full factory though, so which is really good for him. And he is supposed to help out the 250 riders. And I believe the Deegans are helping to chip in with some of his salary. And Christian's supposed to help Hayden with some of the stuff on and off the track. As we do this mid-December, the off the track stuff doesn't appear to be taking effect yet. But yeah, I mean, Christian, look, he was really good on the Yamaha, and he's been through a couple of years of hellish injuries. So can he get back there, being 2 years older, and maybe not a full-time racing gig because he's going to have to devote some attention to the other kids? I'm not sure. He's a good dude. This would be a really cool story. If he can get in top 10s, I think that's a win. I don't think he's thinking that. I think he thinks he can do better. To me, for all the stuff I just talked about, if he's in the top 10, great job. I think that's a win.
Yeah, really hard to figure out expectations, JT, here, especially considering he's going to enter the series partway through, which is never a good recipe.
Yeah, I don't have really any high expectations for Christian Craig. I don't have any preconceived notions. What I would like to see, though, is flashes of what we used to see. The blazing speed in qualifying. I know we have this 9 whoop rule that kind of it weakens his strengths a little bit, right? Takes away some of the flash he can give us. If you had a whoop section that was 16 whoops long, Christian Craig, when he's feeling it, can make up a lot of time in a section like that. That doesn't really exist in today's racing. So that hurts him a little bit, but I just want to see the comfortable, really confident, really fast Christian Craig show up. And I would argue we have not seen that guy since Glendale of 2023. We simply haven't seen it. Was it 22 or 23? Whatever year that was, when he got hurt at Glendale, I haven't seen that guy show up since. And I don't care what the results are. I just want to see flashes of brilliance to remind everyone of what that guy's capable of.
Yeah, that was 23, his rookie year, and his arm is basically messed up, his elbow, ever since. As for the 9 whoops, I don't know when that's going to change because I heard Dave Prater saying, Adam Cincerolo's podcast, only 2 riders had season-ending injuries in whoops last year. Jeremy Martin got knocked out. He did come back, actually. It wasn't even season-ending. And Roxon's shock broke, and that was it for bad injuries in the whoop. So I know people don't want to hear it, but the data supports that there were fewer injuries. And then they said, we need more years, more data, and maybe we can look at this more closely. But that's what the numbers say. We both want challenging tracks and riders not to get hurt. That's what we want both. Good luck, everybody. Another factory team to talk about. There is another one out there. It's not Triumph. They will not be racing 450s until 2026. It's not Ducati. They want to maybe race some Pro Motocross at some point late in 2025. Beta started a Supercross program last year. It wasn't good for Colt Nichols, but it was actually great for Benny Bloss. He had some good runs, about as good as we've seen Benny. I know you're a Benny fan, Steve. He's an awesome guy to talk to off the track. Now he's got Mitch Oldenburg as his teammate. This beta thing wasn't talked about enough. It was good, I think.
Yeah, it was good, right? Again, brand new bike coming into Supercross. They did a good job. Rough start They had ECU issues. They
yeah.
had some things going on. Really rough start, but they turned it around. Benny was starting to ride really well. And Mitchell Oldenburg I've always been a fan of. So, I mean, the worst thing about Benny is he really likes the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolute worst thing about him. But, man, Benny can ride. JT knows. Whatever you want to put Benny on, that dude has some skills. And Mitchell Oldenburg is a solid veteran. And I like the look of the bikes. I'm on board with red, blue, clear tanks. There's some orange in there. I'm okay with the Skittles look. So go Team Beta. I'm here for them. And I like both their riders.
Look, JT, you were on the grind for a long time in this sport. It's awesome to have these guys out there. These are two likable guys that have rides, and the bikes clearly aren't holding them back that much. So this is a net gain for Supercross in general.
It is. There's more jobs, more rides. It's all positive. And when I look at the beta program, to me, it just looks like one of those things where it's not as easy to maybe get as used to as one of the other motorcycles, right? They don't have as many years behind it. They don't have the experience kind of crafting it around Supercross. So if you jump on a beta, is it going to be as easy as jumping on a Yamaha or Honda? Maybe not. And I think you've seen that with John Short struggled, Colt Nichols struggled, but Benny has really found his niche with the motorcycle. So to me, that's kind of how I see it. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It just may be a little bit outside the parameters of this kind of box that all the other motorcycles are in. And that may be really good for you, or it may just not work for you. And over time, I think they'll start to kind of work towards the middle because they'll find that customers and people genuinely flock to a certain type of thing. But yeah, it's fun to watch. I think we're going to get these other OEMs coming in. And I think Benny is the perfect guy to be on that program because he has incredible talent. Like Steve said, when he's on and when things are going his way, he can ride with anybody. And maybe, does that mean he can beat Jet Lawrence? No, but I'm telling you, that kid can ride with the best of the best if things are perfect for him. But he's ridden factory motorcycles. He was a part of Rocky Mountain KTM, BTO KTM. So he knows what factory feel is and what the expectation needs to be. I'm sure Colt Nichols gave them some insight too about where the Honda HRC motorcycle is and where they need to strive to get to. And that's a really critical part of the process because I don't care if you're a rider or a team personnel, if you don't know what the needed level is, if you don't know where you need to get to, I promise you're never getting there. You may not still get there anyway from lack of resources or talent or whatever, but knowing what the target is a huge part of the process. And I think Benny understands where they are and where they, in the end, need to be.
Now, Colt Nichols is still out there. He has now switched to the Twisted T portion of the Suzuki team. Roxon is on the Progressive Insurance, but it's essentially the same Suzuki squad. So Nichols is over there. And of course, Kyle Chisholm is going to come back because Chiz always chizzes. Do we even know the status of Colt, who had a really unfortunate, not his fault, get off in WSX? Is Colt even going to be at Anaheim 1, Steve? Do we know yet?
Yeah, he's fine. He'll be at Anaheim 1. Just a shoulder injury, nothing broken, just bruised really bad. The crash was ugly. JT probably wants to blame Vince for it. But Colt's going to be solid. Shane McElrath, who really dominated this is the winter of Shane. He raced every single race. They switched teams, and that's going to be interesting to watch because I feel like they're going to be around each other this coming Monster Energy Supercross, right around there. And then Chiz is Chiz. I mean, God, he's death, taxes, and Chiz. He'll be there. So looking forward to seeing all three of these guys go at it, Weege.
Yeah, so we thought McElrath was going to the Bubba Pauly Mad Parts Kawasaki team. He did for SMX. Then he raced for the Honda team, Yuriv Konski's Honda team, to win Australia and WSX. We think he's probably going to end up still racing with that team that we know as Firepower Honda in America. I think that's what McElrath's probably going to do. JT, man, the McElrath story has really been one of the weirdest over the last couple of years. Everything goes well for him except 450 racing in America, 250 Supercross, 250 Motocross, any of these international things. He's great. It just for some reason doesn't materialize at Anaheim.
It's tough. Look at the entry list sometime for those of you watching this show and try to figure out where these guys are supposed to slot in because there are, McElrath's a former race winner. He took Chase Sexton down to the wire in the 2020 COVID season in Salt Lake. he looks the part as a guy who should be a 450 factor. It just hasn't gone that way, but you could make the same case for Colt Nichols. You can make the case for lots of guys. Look at a guy like Brock Tickle, right? He won a Supercross regional championship, and he could just never quite take that step to be a real contender in 450 Supercross all the time. It is really difficult, is the point, and there are way too many fast guys for enough consistent top 10 positions for these guys to fit in. So unfortunately, somebody has to be 14th, and that's just the world we live in. And sometimes last year it was Christian Craig. It's going to be Shane McElrath. Sometimes it's going to be Colt Nichols, and all these guys at some point in their career were the next big thing. Some of them were even regional Supercross champions. And guess what? That night, you're just the 12th best 450 guy there is. There's nothing wrong with it. I've been that guy. It's reality, and there's nothing wrong with it. Do you aspire to be better? Sure. Can you go win WSX championships, Australian Supercross championships, and make hundreds of thousands of dollars in the process? Absolutely. So there's no shame in being 12th. That's just the state of the sport. It is a hashtag deep field, especially early in the season.
No shame in being Shane. He's got a teammate over there. Joey Savatgy going to be back in 450 Supercross. That's maybe been even a wilder roller coaster ride than McElrath, Steve. That's been the Savatgy story. Somebody needs a graphic to show you all the places he's ended up.
Yeah, although I think I put this on Twitter a little while ago. 7 teams for Shane in 5 years, 7 different bikes.
So that is the
7
wildest.
different bikes. But yeah, Joey, we probably left Joey too late to talk about, because when he got hurt, the last time he raced 450 Supercross, I believe he was 9th overall and then got hurt. So definitely a top 10 guy, which is beating Colt Nichols and beating Shane McElrath if you sort of look at where those guys have been. Now, and then he went to the Triumph thing, obviously missed Supercross last year. Injuries have been Joey's thing, man. It's really hurt him over the years. He's probably better than Shane. He's better than Colt, but can he stay healthy, right? Once you get hurt in a sport, you get forgotten about and you get shuffled back. And he has put some good rides in, but man, there hasn't been that many 450 Supercross races where Joey has stayed healthy for 17 rounds. And so I'm from the show me state. I'm actually from Canada, but show me state, Joey. Show me 17 rounds, and I think he can be top 10, but man, he's got to stay out of it. Stop getting hurt.
Quick shout out to our sponsors. That's Monster Energy, Maxima, and Fly Racing. There is one rider who, man, he could be in show 1 at any point. I don't even know. Justin Hill is the all-time enigma.
Show 1?
Riddle.
Episode 1. You're going to put Justin Hill in episode 1.
There was a time, and that time specifically was the Tampa Supercross. What year was that? 2019?
17.
2017. There was a time. You want to talk regional Supercross champions that were the next big thing. That was Justin Hill at one point. At one point, we didn't even have Justin Hill racing at all. Then he came back in 23 and was really good. Told me his back hurt all year last year, was not so good. I don't know what Justin Hill we're going to get. He could podium by the end of the year. He's done it before. He can be invisible. I think he's back with Team Tedder. Justin Hill, everybody. I have no idea. I
think he's back with Team Tedder. I think he's on a KTM. We don't know what year. Maybe not a KTM.
Yeah.
Did Ted Tedder get a new wrap?
I know that's what you want. A new wrap on his rig.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. And this is the beauty of our sport sometimes. Guys like Justin Hill just floating out there, showing up and doing whatever. Who knows?
You mentioned Bloss being able to run with anybody. I mean, JT, that is Hill. I mean, you don't see it much, but you never know, man. You never know with this guy.
You don't know if he's going to be in East Rutherford and he's going to battle for a podium, or you don't know if he's going to go back to Wyoming and be a police officer. You just, from week to week, you have no idea what the hell this guy's going to do. He might skip a race and go to the Hill Jam in Oregon. Yeah. I don't know where he's going to be, what he's going to be doing, but you have to love something about that, because there are some absolute characters in this sport, and Justin Hill is right up there near the top of that list.
That's why we love this episode. There's so many guys that, with the Chiz got a Chiz style. Our buddy Fredrik Noren, he's one of the likable guys. Cade Clayson, Grant Harlan. There's so many great privateer personalities. I always try to explain to the fans, I think the misnomer is the further down you go and the less money these guys make, the sadder they are. But it's actually the inverse. We spent a lot of time talking about the fan reaction and how that's affected Jet Lawrence. These guys are not getting any of that. They're getting to race a dirt bike for a living. It's something they don't take for granted. They're the happiest dudes. Steve, you ever seen Fredrik Noren not happy at a race ever?
I think Dallas SMX was a low point for Freddie, but that was literally the only time I'd ever seen that from him.
Yeah.
But also shout out Dean Wilson. He's got a limited schedule with Urive. He's going to come and drop in and do some Supercross races. Love Dino and Freddie you mentioned, and Hardog should be better. Last year he really started slow coming off the injury, and before that he was one of the top privateers in the sport. So love Hardog as well. These guys are great. The Privateer Islanders are fantastic to talk to, and it's going to be interesting to see, that, like we just mentioned, there's 22 guys in the main event. We've mentioned, 30?
Oh, yeah.
So eight of these guys aren't going to be in main events, like, guys like Chiz and McElrath and Freddie and these guys. So, man, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who shapes up and who figures out what's going on early on in the season.
I have a suggestion. Steve, you're tight with these guys. You like these guys. You should start a team. And JT, you could sponsor it through Fly Racing. That's, Steve, you should do that. You should have a team.
Yeah, tried that. Pitched it to Anthony and JT.
Oh.
The pitch went perfect.
Oh.
It was a beautiful pitch. Many people said it was the best pitch ever. And Cooper Webb took all the money.
Wow. All right. There is a new team in the pits, though. There will be TPJ, Privateer Journey, and Teddy Parks. He is retired. There is a new privateer team coming that will be backed by our friend with the McGinley Clinic, Doc McGinley. We've seen some of his stuff. It comes on our TV show, Outdoors. He's going to try to pick up the mantle. I believe that's kind of the idea of what TPJ was. That'll be rolling out as the year goes on, getting more privateers to the races. That's a wrap on our 450 preview for 2025 and Monster Energy Supercross. But JT, you're going to pick who's going to fly, and give me some shine on someone via Maxima. Steve, who is going to shine out of all 50 riders we've just talked about?
I'm going to bring up somebody we didn't mention. Okay, all of those guys have positive points, but who would I want to see shine on? Who would I want to see get back to his old level at Supercross and put in the main events? Justin Rod Bell. Yeah. Rod Bell. He is a character, Rod Bell. And if he can get back, he's on a KTM again. And he's had some off years. He kind of comes and goes. But I'd like to see Rod Bell in every main event.
I have Rod Bell insight. Do you want Rod Bell insight?
Yes, please. Yes.
No other preview show is giving you Rod Bell insight. He's gone back to the full-time HVAC job. He feels he rides better when he's got the HVAC job. It takes the pressure off, doesn't need the money from the racing.
Of course. Of course.
And then I took advantage by having Rod Bell stop by my house and give me a free tune-up of my HVAC, which would have cost me a lot of money if it was someone else. So you want to put together a privateer program and pay them? I am using them for free labor. That's my Rod Bell update. JT, who's going to fly?
I'll tell you who I think is going to fly, and then who I want to fly. Who I think is going to fly is Joey Savatgy. I got to watch him ride both in person and, of course, on the internet. But he's riding really well right now. He's confident. He's on form. He's been able to battle the likes of Roxon and Tomac a little bit, and these guys all over the world. Like, he's riding pretty damn well, and that's got to translate to America. But he's been there and done that. That's not something he's unfamiliar with. So I think there's a capability of him being a staple top 10 guy and creeping in, trying to battle for a top 5 here and there. Like, I think the ceiling for Joey in Supercross is higher than even like a Jorge Prado. I truly do. So something to watch for there. But what I want to happen is a guy we didn't talk about, and that's Kevin Moran's making main events, because he will get good starts and it's chaos. He will get to the front and it's just all hell breaks loose when Kevin Moran's pulls a hole shot in the main event, and he absolutely goes for the hole shot no matter what place he's going to get in the main event. So that's what I want to happen, just because I'm cheering for absolute and sheer anarchy, almost like the Joker in The Dark Knight. I just sometimes want to watch the world burn. Kevin Moran's gets a hole shot in the main event, the world might burn.
That's a good one.
I'm glad you went there, because, Steve, you want to talk exclamation point. You want to talk good start and chaos. He is focused on some other series and championships right now, but we're going to see some Vince Freeze and MCR Honda in Supercrosses this year, at least MCR. I don't know what brand they'll even be on, but that's JT. That's what you're saying times a million right there. Freeze will be heard from.
Not for me.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to all the criers, all the whiners on the internet I got a question before we wrap this up. I know we're going to do 250s next. Are you guys back with the TV crew next year?
We are.
Not-
That's
both of
why
you?
we were at the
Not
meetings
press
that you were
releases?
not. Yes.
That's unfortunate. Okay.
Just wanted to check that.
My favorite
Everybody-
part of this is Steve calling the rest of the world whiners on the internet. That's my favorite part of this show so far.
He's staked that flag in the ground.
Interesting bedmates he has there.
Yeah. A rainy cross catch the fever. Freezy is
He's
dominating.
a
there,
racer.
and there's chaos for sure.
Something.
And we'll get some of that in Supercross in 25. He said he's going back to Anaheim and he'll be at least racing there. There'll be a few conflicting dates. We'll see what he does, but you'll see a lot of Vince and team in Supercross. That's our 450 program. We will be back with a 250 show. So everyone's saying, where's Deegan in the comments on YouTube of the last 4 episodes? We'll finally get what they want. We talk 250s in our next show.